Yo, what's going on, Dragon Ballers? Welcome back to another deck profile. Today I want to share with you guys my idea for red, blue, yellow launch. As far as launch is concerned, red blue's been popular, red green's been popular, and red blue green has even been popular. But I haven't really seen anyone play red, blue, yellow, and it's an idea that I had that I wanted to try out going into Nationals. And basically, if you guys don't know, Nationals testing, at least for like a big team like ours, is kind of throwing a lot of ideas at the wall and trying to see what sticks. I really liked launch going into Nationals, and also a little bit more so before we actually saw the set 15 ban list, because it has really good answers to Violent Rush Bojack in the form of the cooler arrival. But even though Violent Rush Bojack got banned, it was still a deck that I messed around with, and I'm just a yellow player. I love yellow. I think the cards in yellow are really good, and I think one of launch's kind of biggest issues is that it can't really deal with big boss monsters super well, so that's where the yellow comes in. But we'll see all that in today's video. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe, and if you guys want to buy any cards you see in today's video, it really helps the channel out if you use the link in the description to TCG Player. With that being said, though, shout out to DBS Deck Planet, one of the channel and team sponsors. Their site's absolutely incredible for deck building, looking through the card database, all that kind of stuff. Anyways, as far as the leader is concerned, basically she benefits from comboing, so you want to play this very like combo step centric game. You'll notice a lot of launch decks don't play unisons, and there is a pretty important reason for that. The main one being that if your opponent ever attacks your unison, you're denied a combo step. So that's why you probably see most launch lists without unisons. Kind of want to just include that little tidbit for anyone who is like new to launch, wants to explore launch, and doesn't quite understand why unisons are so popular in the meta, but not usually played in launch decks. What's really important too is that launch's flip is not tied to an awaken skill. So we have a new card in the format, which is the new blue hit unison, for example, that flips your opponent's leader over, says it can't activate its awaken or wish skill for X amount of turns. That does not affect launch, so things that normally affect awakens don't really interact with launch. Also a reason why you can't play SS4 Goku Heartfelt Plea in the deck, because when your leader flips, it's not technically an awaken, even though you might play against a launch player and they might say, oh, awaken my leaders as a force of habit. That's not technically what's going on. But anyways, let's get into the main deck. So we are playing a red, blue, yellow variant of the deck, and we are leaning into the red, blue color combination. There is actually a multicolor blue, yellow card in the deck. We'll get to that later, though. But yeah, this is the main crux of the deck. Like, Beerus Super Combo is very powerful. You use it to combo during your opponent's turn and untap blue-red energy, which is how you set up your arrival plays. And the leader drawing a card off that Beerus activation makes Beerus even stronger, because it kind of becomes like a true super combo in the sense that during your opponent's turn, you're using it to actually draw a card and untap the energy and set up an arrival. Very, very powerful in the launch deck. 410 speed, of course. We are playing again a blue variant. We want to be able to manipulate as much energy as possible. And in this deck, we're really playing heavily in the combo step, maybe a bit more than you've seen in other launch builds. So being able to manipulate that energy is super important, especially when you want to get your yellow energy back open for certain plays in the deck. We have 4 launch Superior Hearted. We also have 4 launch Feminine Wilds, and we have 4 copies of Bulma Confident Friend. You can kind of mess around with the ratios of the quote-unquote flippers. These are the cards that, again, how I was talking before about how the leader doesn't actually awaken. It just constantly flips back and forth between launch's different forms. These are the 12 cards that help you flip over. They basically all read if your leader is a launch, essentially, you have to flip a card in your life face up, and then your leader will flip because of that. And then your leader draws a card off the combo. Basically, they all complement each other. Launch the Pure Hearted, though, is the card that's going to generate you a lot of your raw pluses, because you can actually combo this out of the drop area, and by comboing a card out of the drop, you're not comboing a card from your hand, but you're still drawing. So instead of your typical scenario where your combos kind of just replace themselves, this one actually becomes a pure +1 because it gets comboed from the drop area. But back to the ratio thing, a lot of launch players play like 10 flippers or they play 11 flippers. We're playing a full 12 here, mostly because launch can draw so much that this is a deck that I'm very concerned about decking myself out. I want to make sure I have, you know, enough cards in my deck. This is currently a 54 card list. Maybe could use some trimming, but I mean, the deck that won Nationals was 56 cards, so I'm not too concerned about that needing trimming. But with the full 12 flippers, should be very consistent that we see them. But again, this will allow us to draw through our deck a crazy amount, so we want to make sure that we have the full number of flippers and that our deck is kind of like a healthy size as to not deck ourselves out. Then we have 4 copies of Cooler Turnicle Assault. Again, the main arrival you're going to play with a red-blue engine, just that good. Again, this card was super powerful when Violent Rush Bojack was a legal card, but this card's still really strong, especially now that yellow seems to be leaning heavily into Lord Slug Super Namekian, which is going to turn off your non-leader draws, which in this deck, you'll do most of the drawing from your leader, but still, being able to remove that slug and any other barrier threat for that matter is still really good. We also have 4 copies of Goku Divine Presence. So this is like a new arrival card that a strategy like this can play. Basically, any red-blue deck can play Goku Divine Presence because unlike the Gohan Surprise Attack, this just says when you combo with 2 red cards, you can pay 2 red to play it, not when you play or combo with 2 mono red cards. So this fits so perfectly in a blue-red strategy like this because you can combo like one of the launch flippers to draw a card and then flip your leader over, and then you can combo Beerus Divine Obliterator, which will draw you another card because now you're on the other side of your leader and you've untapped energy. So if you have the energy available or want to use some sensu beans, you can combo or arrive Cooler and Goku Divine Presence in that same battle. The other thing that's really cool about Divine Presence in this deck is that yes, we are a very small leader, 5k on the front, 10k on the back. So with that, when you play Goku Divine Presence, you can pick any red card and give it 5,000 power for the turn. That's offensively or defensively. So in this deck, you might actually play Goku Divine Presence much more defensively than you might do it offensively in like a red Gohan or red U7 Vegeta deck. So you can give your leader 5k with Divine Presence and with Sensu Bean. So between that, you have 8 ways to stack your leader with 5k, which can actually make your opponents like 15 20k aggression kind of meaningless if you are able to stack multiples of those and be on the correct side of your leader, the 10k side. So kind of a pretty cool battle trick you can do there. So you have the Cooler for like insane amounts of removal, and you have Divine Presence for protecting your leader, as well as putting on big pressure for 20k dual attack, and also can't be removed from the board during your turn. So as long as it survives the turn you play it during your opponent's turn, it can't be removed going into your next turn. And if you're playing against like green, for example, if Frieza Charismatic Villain, you play Divine Presence, now that card is safe from being removed until at least it gets to your opponent's next turn. But in the meantime, it can do the damage that you need it to do. Also got 4 copies of Hercule Majin Buu Friends Forever. So again, kind of like a mini Cooler, but this card is nice because it can recycle cards back to your hand. So if you want to start, re-arriving Coolers to mill your opponent out or get more removal going, you can obviously do that. So Hercule Buu is another staple in red blue, and especially in this deck, the curve, so to speak, is you want to charge red blue on turn 1. So you want to make sure you have the appropriate amount of red blue cards in the deck. That is pretty important. There are a few more red blue cards we'll talk about as we go through. But first, we have 1 copy of SS4 Bardock Fighting Against Fates. The order of this might seem a bit random, but it's kind of the order that I was adding cards and then editing cards. The overwhelm slots definitely have changed and can change. You can obviously play Secret Identity Masked Saiyan if you want to have more token sweepers or more removal in general, but since we have Buu Hercule and Cooler amongst other things, I felt like the overwhelm that would help you end the game was maybe a bit better, but I can totally see an argument for playing Secret ID. Maybe even Fu Shrouded if you wanted to play that card. I think that would be kind of okay, but I think in this deck you want to be doing more with your energy, unless you really do get to that turbo late game and want to just slam down Fu Shrouded. You can definitely do that. 1 copy of Furry Instruction Champa. Nice thing with this deck is it's a red card. You can always just charge if it's kind of like a dead card in your hand, but otherwise it's just a typical drop double strike for game on your opponent. 2 copies of Testing the Opposition. A lot of launch decks don't really play negates, and that's really good because you want to, again, be in the combo step as much as you can. Kind of same reason as to why we don't play unisons. But with Testing the Opposition, it can help us get to lower life if our life is being stalled out, because we never really have to interact with our own life, but it can be sometimes annoying if our opponent's not giving us any of our own life either. But Testing the Op is also cool because if you end up not blocking with that token, you can combo it later to use your leader skill to draw, so that's kind of cool. Then we have 2 copies of SSB Goku Concentrated Destruction. This was, again, more of a tech for Bojack in the main, but again, it's just also like a board wipe. It's also just barrier removal as well, in case you really need to kill something on the spot. I can see this getting bumped to the sideboard, though, for sure. That seems totally fine to me. 2 copies of Broly Crown. This can maybe even be 3 in place of one of the Kaiokens, because Broly Crown is one of the best cards in red right now. The format is so mid-rangey. Your opponent's going to constantly be leaving energy up. You're going to be able to look at their hand, snipe super combos, snipe battle cards like Bardock or Post. It's going to be really strong. Then we are playing the Kai SCR. In this deck, this could be so many SCRs. I always say that, but this could be more SCRs than normal. So this could obviously be Kai, this could be Pan, this could be Heroine's Lineage. Another cool SCR to play in this deck is actually the Black-Yellow Sin Xeno. And the reason for that is you have to combo that card to activate its effect, tap all your opponent's cards, and launch can benefit off that combo with the leader effect. So that's kind of a cool thing there. And then we have 4 copies of Zamasu, the Eliminator. So this is one of the main reasons we want to splash yellow into this deck, and that's because this card gives us the ability to interact with our opponent's boss monsters, especially ones that ignore barriers. So in the typical like blue-red, blue-green, or red-green, sorry, and then red-blue-green variants of launch, you really can't do anything when your opponent plays a boss card. And if that card has a really powerful on play effect or a really powerful on attack effect, you really just like can't do anything to stop it. You can hope to like minus it with coolers, minus it with Hercule Boo's, maybe kill it during battle, but if that requires like 3 coolers in one battle, that can be a pretty tough ask. So with Zamasu Eliminator splashing yellow here, we're able to tap down big threats, deal with them in different ways, which is really, really nice. And this can also help you offensively, answering cards like Robotic Riposte or other floodgates, so that you can swing for game with your coolers, your Boos, your Gokus, stuff like that. So in this deck, again, you want to charge blue-red turn 1, maybe a mono-red turn 2, and then turn 3 and beyond, you can always just charge Zamasu as a third kind of like multicolored charge. But we also do play some mono yellows in the deck. We have 1 copy of Master Roshi Forges of Will, which admittedly is kind of random, but it is just a one-off negate. You can always combo later to draw with your leader, which is nice. And we're also going with 4 copies of Godly Destruction Whis. This is more of a meta choice than anything because Soul Striker is such a popular and strong deck. So with Godly Destruction Whis being one of our yellow cards, we can always just charge it, or we can play it in the Soul Striker matchup or any deck that we want to basically stop offensive untapping, like with Sensu Beans or anything like that. And then we have 3 copies of Mecha Frieza Energy Blade. This is a more recent addition to the deck. I did notice that I wanted more blue energy without having to charge energy exhaust energy. So that's also one of the reasons why the deck got bumped up to 54 cards, but I've liked it at 54. And if you watched yesterday's video, you might have noticed when I was talking about Zamasu the Eliminator that it can be really unfortunate when you have to tap out your only blue energy to use it. So that's why, again, I wanted more blue-red energy just to charge as like a free check land. And then we do have 1 copy of Frost Deadly Poison, again, for those very, very powerful enter play effects that you need to be able to stop. So once you have like your blue-red from turn 1, then you have your red from turn 2 because it's only 2 specified for Frost, and then turn 3 you have a yellow. Now you have access to Frost Deadly Poison. I don't think this is the perfect list by any means, but I think it's a cool core concept for a tricolor variant of launch that includes yellow, just to be a bit more control-y. So I want to know what you guys think in the comments below. How would you improve the deck? How would you change it? Let me know. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.